to All About Health, episode 16. My name is George Overbeck, and I am your host of this podcast, where we talk about all the different aspects of health, whether that's mental, physical, it's not coming to my mind right now, but every part of health that has to do with our life. And today's episode is going to be everything that I've read in 2022. And I actually recently made a post on my Instagram, which my Instagram is linked down below if you don't follow me there. And I listed my top 10 reads of 2022. And I said in that post that I read over 30 books, but those ones were my top 10. And I thought I would make a podcast saying all 30 or over 30 books that I've read to tell you which ones are worth reading, which ones to skip, which ones I didn't really finish because they weren't that great in my opinion, and which ones I loved that I definitely recommend for you to read. So it's kind of like a should you read it or not, depending on what your interest in reading is. But this is my opinions. If you like these books or if you don't like these books, that's totally okay, totally up to you. And if you've heard good things about certain ones and you're like, oh, but I've been wanting to read them, still read it, make your own opinion. But for me, this is my opinion on everything that I've read. So I actually have 34 books that I'm going to go through today. But before that, we have to get into our segments. So the first segment is my favorite thing that I've watched or listened to in the week. And usually I talk about what show or movie I've watched and what my favorite was, but we're still watching Glee. If you've been seeing the most recent episodes, we've been watching Glee for a few weeks now. We're on season 2, and so I can't really say anything different other than Glee is my favorite. So I've decided that I'm going to start including podcasts on in this part of the segment, because I listen to a lot of podcasts as well. So eventually I'm sure we'll get back to the shows and the movies. But right now I'm going to say a podcast, a specific one, and that is The Wellness Cafe by Trinity Tondelier. I think I said her name right. And the episode that I really enjoyed this previous week was the Save or Splurge Wellness Products edition. And it was kind of where she went through a bunch of popular wellness products that people talk about, like collagen. I think she said like certain beauty products and asked if they were worth it or not. And I just really I like hearing people's opinions about those types of things. And so I personally really enjoyed that episode, and that was my favorite of the week. But I've listened to so many podcasts, so I'll definitely continue including that in the segment. And then the second segment is what my favorite recipe or meal or food was of the week. And if you watched my last episode, you would have seen that I just finished actually filming a what I eat in a week, but it was like eating like vegan celebrities for each different day. And so on, I think it was the last day, I made a vegan shepherd's pie kind of dish because the celebrity really likes mashed potatoes. And so what I did is I got some mashed potatoes that I made, and then I got some vegan like ground meat faux meat, and then some carrots and celery and peas and onion, and then like just sauteed that, ate it together. It was really good. It was like a shepherd's pie vibe, and I really enjoyed it. So honestly, that was one of my favorite meals that I had during the last week. Okay, so we're going to get into the books now because, again, as I said before, I have a lot of books to go through. So number one, the first book that I read in the year was 12 and a Half by Gary Vee. And in this book, I don't have any notes about any of these books, by the way. I'm just going to say what comes to my head, so some of them I might not even have any notes about because I don't really remember them. And that tells you a lot about the book, though, doesn't it? Okay, so 12 and a Half by Gary Vee was really good. I haven't really read any of Gary Vee's books before, but I do enjoy following him on social media. I feel like he's got a lot of great social media tips and just how to be yourself on social media and growth and all that stuff. This book, to me, was okay. There wasn't anything that stood out about it, or I was like, wow, I need to read that again, or that was the best book I've ever read. It was kind of like him talking about 12 different attributes that he tries to have in his life. It was just a bunch of different positivity and kindness and all that stuff. And of course that's nice, and I enjoyed the book, but to me it wasn't anything special. So I would say that if you're new to like self-help books, this is a great beginner one because it's not like super like, it's not boring, I would say. He's good at not writing that way. So yeah, if you're new to self-help books, I would say 12 and a half is good. If you have read many of them, I would say it's kind of like, if you want to. Okay, number 2 is Atomic Habits. And I had been wanting to read this one for a long time. My mom actually read this about 2 years ago, and she really, really liked it. She learned a lot from that book, and so I finally decided to read it at the beginning of 2022, and I would say that it was my favorite book of the year. I got so much from it, and I wrote down so many notes, and I really liked it, and I still talk about that book a lot now, and I'm actually going to be rereading it in 2023, so definitely recommend that one if you have not read it yet. I know that a lot of people talk about it, but I think it's for a good reason. It's definitely a great self-help book, and I really like it, so definitely I recommend that one. Number 3 was The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. And this one actually really surprised me. I really liked this book, and I found a lot of good nuggets and advice in this one. I don't think that it's very popular. Like, I haven't really seen anybody else talk about it, but I really enjoyed it, and I would say it was one of my favorites as well. Okay. Next one is The Power of Broke by Damon John. And the reason I got this one is because I like the show Shark Tank, and I thought Damon is one of the sharks, and I like entrepreneur books and things like that. And it was a good book. I would say it was almost more of like a business book than a self-help book, which I know that those kind of overlap sometimes. It was okay. This one wasn't my favorite. I would say if you're not like an entrepreneur or like an owner of a business, then I would say to skip this one because it's more, again, as I said before, more of a business than a self-help book. It was okay. It was a good read. I wouldn't read it again. But if you're somebody who owns a business or an entrepreneur, then that's great. Okay, next one is Start by John Acuff or something like that, Acuff. I also really liked this one. I thought it was a really good read and a really good book. It just talked about like not waiting to put off your dreams, like kind of just starting them. Obviously, like the title is called Start. But also I think that this author, John, is a little bit of like a comedian or something like that. Like, he's very funny. And so the way that he wrote the book was really good because you were learning a lot from it, but also he was kind of making you laugh along the way. So I really enjoyed this one. I would recommend that. The next one is Write It Down, Make It Happen by Henriette Klauser. And I also really enjoyed this one. I would say that my best books were at the beginning of the year, and then it kind of dwindled down after that. But I really did enjoy this one. This one inspired me to write out like all of my goals and all of my like aspirations and dreams and stuff like that, which I had always known that I should have done before, but I just never did for some reason. But having that book, it finally got me to do it, and I really enjoyed it. So I would definitely recommend that one. Number 7 is Ignite the Power Within. And to be honest, I don't really remember this one. So I think I'm just gonna leave it there. That shows that it wasn't my favorite personally. Number 8 is The 4-Season Solution by Dallas Hartwig. And this one was interesting because I appreciated the points that he brought up in this book. It was definitely more of like a health book than a self-help book, even though those again, kind of like business, overlap. And it was him talking about like eating with the seasons and like exercising with the seasons, kind of living with the seasons. And some things I appreciated in the book, some things I didn't as much because like obviously I eat plant-based and he didn't really support that in the book. So that was something a little bit different for me. But I do appreciate reading different views, and I think that it was a good like learning book. Like, I learned a lot from it. But it wasn't like the best read that I ever had, and I don't think I would read it again. But if you're interested in learning that type of like eating with the seasons kind of thing, then I would definitely recommend it. Okay, the next one is Plant Strong by Rip Esselstin. And this book is pretty much all about like how to eat more plant-based, how to live more vegan, ethically, that type of thing. I would say that it was a good book, but I already know a lot of things about eating plant-based and eating vegan, so it was kind of like a lot of things that I already knew. If you are new to eating plant-based or eating vegan or want to start incorporating that more, then I would say it would be a great read for you. But for me, it was kind of like I knew a lot of it already, so I kind of just like skipped some of it because I was like, oh, I already know this. But I do like to reread those kinds of books every once in a while just to refresh my memory. But if you are somebody who's like experienced in eating plant-based or vegan, then it's probably kind of things that you already know. Number 10 is The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And this is a big book. Like, it's very thick and it talks a lot about business and obviously self-help. I did enjoy it. I got some good points from it. I did find it was a little bit boring at some points because he was talking a lot about like investing and business, and that's like not where I really am in life yet. If that is where you are, then I would definitely recommend reading it. And it's actually on my to-read list again in 2023 because I want to see if I can get more out of it this time. But it was good. I think it's okay. Number 11 is Soul Searchers by Emma Milden. And this one is quite different than all the other books that I have been listing so far. So this one was actually about like spirituality and about crystals and like guardian angels and all that type of stuff and like the universe. And that is something that I'm interested in as well. I don't really read much about that very often just because like I'm kind of like in the middle. Like I enjoy those types of things, but then at the same time I'm like, that's a little too much. So it was like a good book, but some parts I did skip because I was like, oh, that's like not for me. Number 12 is Friday Forward by Robert Glazer, and I actually really enjoyed this one too. So the way you're supposed to read this is like read one chapter a week every Friday, and then you kind of incorporate all of those things into the rest of your week. I just read it like every single day. I didn't really follow the instructions, but it was a great book. I really enjoyed each of the little lessons that he had in there. It was also pretty quick to read because it wasn't very big. I really enjoyed this one. I found it at a secondhand store and I really liked it. So I would give that one a thumbs up. Number 13 is The One Thing by Jay Papasan, and I don't really remember much about this one either. I remember it being good, but I don't remember like anything specifically that I learned from it. I would maybe have to read it again to get more out of it, but I would say it was okay. Like it was kind of like a normal self-help book to me. Number 14 is Elevate by Robert Glazer, and this one was also really good. I enjoy Robert Glazer's writing. Like he's a good writer and the things that he writes about are interesting, and I remember like just getting a lot from that book. Number 15 is Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin, and this one is very similar to Atomic Habits because it's all about habits. I would say that Atomic Habits was better, but this one was good too. If you are like really interested in that, like the science of habits and like what goes through our minds when we do our habits and things like that and routines, then I would recommend to read it. But if you read like Atomic Habits and you learn enough from that, I would say that you don't have to continue reading more into it, you know? So this one was okay for me. Like it was kind of boring because I had already read all of it or like a better version of it in Atomic Habits, but it was okay. Number 16, The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a... I'll let your mind go there. This one was okay to me. Like it was like what she was saying was kind of like not giving a when people do certain things in your life, and it kind of differed from what I believe. I was like, maybe you should care about it though. Like it was kind of like if somebody does something wrong for you, like just don't matter. And so I didn't really love this one. I wouldn't really recommend it, but as always, if it's something that you've heard good things about, or if you want to read it or you find it and you're like, oh, this sounds good, then go ahead and read it. But for me, it wasn't something that I really meshed well with, I could say. Number 17 is Disrupt Her by Mickey Agrawal, and I really liked this one. This one was a really good, like, feminist, women strong type book, and I enjoyed the style that Mickey wrote in, so I definitely liked this one. I'm gonna go a little bit faster because we're only like halfway through the list. Number 18, How to Be an Adult. I found this one a little boring, to be honest. I know that I probably shouldn't have because it kind of was like directed towards me, but it was a lot about like how to clean your house and how to cook and like how to like find a job and things like that. And like those are honestly things that I already know how to do. Maybe if you're a little bit younger than me or like less experienced in life, then it would be good. But for me, I kind of found it to be a little bit boring. The 16-Second Philosophy. I have to be honest, I don't really remember this one much, so I'm just gonna say no. Number 20, Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. This one was good. I remember getting some good quotes and learning some good things from this. I do think I was expecting more from Jay Shetty just because he is so big as like a motivational speaker and on Instagram and stuff like that. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad. Number 21, Raising the Bar. This one was actually very interesting and surprised me. So it was written by the owner and creator of Cliff Bar, like those energy bars. And it was kind of him talking through his experience of starting the company and then building the company and then now like owning the company and how big it is, even though he wrote it like 10 years ago. It was still very interesting, and I really enjoyed learning about his journey of creating that company and to how it is today. Number 22 is Super Attractor. This one is like manifesting again. I think I liked this one better though than the other like manifesting type book I read. I would say that it's pretty basic, like how to manifest things into your life, and I really enjoyed it. So if you're somebody who's new to that, I would say to take a look at this book. Number 23, Fiber Fueled. I honestly don't remember a lot from this one either. It was probably just like that classic like plant-based type book. And again, if you're new to eating plant-based or vegan, then it would probably be great for you. But for me, I didn't learn anything spectacular from it, so it was okay. Number 24, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. I remember I liked this book. I think I enjoyed it. It was good. It was a good self-help book, nothing spectacular. As you can tell, the books were really the best at the beginning of the year and then kind of went downhill from there. Then it was Fork It by Suzanne Miles, and it was actually pretty cool. So this lady, she lives in Vancouver, and I got this book when we were there in the summer, and we actually got a chance to meet her at the grocery store, which was pretty cool. But it's another kind of like vegan living book, and it was good. I enjoyed it. Again, if you're new to a vegan lifestyle, check it out. The Happiness Advantage. Don't remember much from this. I remember thinking it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, unfortunately. Number 27, Chakra Foods for Optimum Health. Gotta be honest, I didn't finish this one. It was a little bit out there for me. I don't know, it wasn't the best. Number 28, You Are Not Your Brain. Don't remember this one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna just keep going. The Power of Kindness, Jolt, The Gut Makeover. Don't really remember any of those. Jolt was actually pretty good. That one I didn't mind. But the other ones, just skip those. Stop Wishing, Start Winning. Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. And then the one that I'm currently reading is Life Code. So the other two I mentioned, they were okay. They were not the best books I've ever read. Again, they were all right. And then this is the one that I'm currently reading, Life Code by Dr. Phil. And to be honest, I actually skipped quite a bit of this because he talked about kind of like the negative parts of people who are what he calls baiters, like people who betray and then are like argue with you and are like just not nice people. And I was like, I don't really want to learn about that. So I did, to be honest, I did skip that part. So we'll see. I'm at like the part where he talks about the good things about people. So hopefully it gets better. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is I did start the Tony Robbins Life Force book this year. This is the new one that he came out with, kind of about like living longer, living healthier. And to be honest, I didn't really read that one either because it was a lot about like doctors and cells and surgeries and things like that. And I was like, this is not things that I'm interested in. So that's pretty much the episode for today. What I want you to learn from this, if you've made it this far, is that not every book that you read is going to be the best book. And also, it's good to try different book genres to see what you like, what you don't like. As I said before, the beginning of the year had a lot of better reads for me, and then it kind of just went like slower from there. So we'll see what I read in 2023. Hopefully my reading list is better than it was in 2022. But also, again, if any of these books that you've read and you've loved them, or any of them you want to read, just because this is my opinion doesn't mean it needs to change yours. You are entitled to your own opinions. If you have read any of these books, I'd love to know what your thoughts on them are. Thank you so much for watching or listening. And if you made it this far, thank you so much. I will see you in my next episode, which is going to be the first episode of 2023. And have an amazing day. Again, please let me know what books you've read in 2022 and what your thoughts were. And again, thank you for sticking around this long. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.